Stranded in silence, the transport ship floated in the black silence of space, broken and cold. Emergency lights blinked weakly along the metal walls. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Something terrible had happened, but no alarms screamed. Now. No voices called out. Jace woke up to silence. His head ached. His uniform was torn, and his hands were scratched. He tried to remember what happened. The last thing he recalled was a normal flight. Just another delivery mission between systems. Then, an explosion. Pressure loss. The escape pods had failed. He pushed himself up, grabbing a metal pipe for balance. Everything was dim, the air heavy and cold. One look at the ship's system panel confirmed it. Power was failing. Life support was almost gone. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing through the empty corridor. No answer. He moved through the broken hallway, stepping over shattered glass and fallen crates. The crew quarters were empty. The control room, completely fried. Sparks still jumped from the panels. Then, in the medbay, he saw her. She sat on the floor, knees drawn to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around them. She was small and thin, her skin a soft silver blue. Glowing lines traced across her arms like tattoos. She looked up slowly, her bright eyes meeting his. But she said nothing. Jace froze. He recognized her species. She was one of the Xelari, diplomats, young, maybe a guard or an apprentice. But why hadn't she spoken? "Hey," he said gently, crouching down. "Are you hurt?" No answer. She just stared, blinking once. "Do you speak standard?" He tried again. Still nothing. Her mouth stayed shut, her expression unreadable. She looked more like a statue than a living being. Jace sighed and stood up. "Fine. Stay quiet. Just don't die." He moved to the medbay's side console. The systems were weak, but he managed to pull up a life scan. Only 2 life forms left on board. Him and her. Everyone else was gone, probably sucked into space during the explosion. Jace returned with a thermal blanket and wrapped it around her. She didn't resist, didn't move, but her eyes followed every motion. "You're lucky," he muttered. "The medbay's sealed. Oxygen is low but stable. We'll be safe here, for a little while." The alien girl still said nothing. Hours passed. Jace worked on the backup generator in silence. The only sound was the hum of a small heater and the occasional creak of the broken ship. The girl watched him the whole time. Her silver blue eyes never looked away. It was eerie, but Jace got used to it. He began talking to her anyway, just to feel less alone. "I was just supposed to deliver cargo to orbit. Nothing special," he said, tightening a bolt. "Never thought I'd be stuck like this." He looked over his shoulder. "You got a name?" No reply. "No? All right. I'll call you Tala." She blinked. He smiled weakly. "Tala it is." Suddenly, the emergency panel flickered. A warning in red. Oxygen levels dropping. Jace swore under his breath and ran to the life support screen. One of the filters had shut down completely. They had maybe 20 hours of breathable air left. He glanced at Tala. She hadn't moved. "You know, if you're going to talk, now would be a good time," he said. Nothing. He tried everything to fix the filter. Tools sparked in his hand. His fingers bled. Still no success. Frustration built in his chest. "We're not going to make it if we don't do something," he shouted suddenly. Tala flinched. He froze. "Sorry," he said more quietly. "I didn't mean to scare you." For a few seconds they both sat in silence. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft and calm but cold like metal. "They're not coming." Jace stared at her. "What?" he whispered. She looked down at the floor. "Your rescue team. They won't arrive in time." Jace's heart skipped a beat. "How do you know?" She didn't answer. She just turned her head away. Suddenly, everything felt heavier, darker. The silence wasn't just silence anymore. It was a warning. Who was she really? And how did she know they wouldn't be saved? The oxygen problem. The silence after Tala's words felt louder than the broken ship's groaning metal. "They're not coming," she had said, and she hadn't said another word since. Jace couldn't stop thinking about it. How did she know? Was she guessing? Or did she have inside knowledge? Maybe her people had heard something. Maybe they knew something that he didn't. But right now, none of that mattered. The oxygen levels were dropping. He stared at the flickering panel. The number was slowly ticking down. Not fast, but steady. They had maybe 18 hours left now. Jace sat back against the cold wall, wiping sweat from his forehead. He felt tired, dizzy. The air was already changing. Breathing was just a little harder. He looked at Tala. She sat with perfect stillness. Her legs crossed now, her hands resting on her knees like she was meditating. "You're too calm," Jace muttered. "Either you don't care, or you've done this before." She didn't respond. He stood and paced the room. His boots made soft thuds on the metal floor. He opened every cabinet in the med bay. Old bandages, expired medicine, broken tools. Nothing useful for air filtration. His eyes stopped at a small oxygen canister strapped to the wall, part of a portable medical unit. "Hello, Hope," he whispered. It wasn't much. Maybe 2 hours of air max. He strapped it on and breathed deeply. It helped clear his head. Then he returned to the life support panel and opened the emergency engineering menu. There was one option. Risky, but possible. A hard reset. If he could reroute the last of the auxiliary power, he might be able to reboot the damaged oxygen scrubber system. But if he failed, the system might lock down permanently. "Gamble or die slowly," he muttered. Tala stood up. He blinked. "What?" She walked to the panel and pointed to a line of code on the screen. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Your system is using human protocols. They will not allow a cross-species override. But if I connect mine..." She opened a small device on her wrist. Glowing strands of data spun into the air. Jace's jaw dropped. "Wait. What is that?" "This is a link to my biointerface," she said. "If I connect it to your system, I can bypass the lock." He stared at her. "You've had this all along?" She met his eyes. "You didn't ask." Jace couldn't believe it. She had just sat there, watching him struggle, bleed, and panic for hours, and now she acted like she had the solution the whole time. "Why now?" he asked. Tala tilted her head slightly. "You didn't panic when I spoke. You didn't treat me like a thing." That shut him up. He stepped aside. "All right. Do your thing." She moved quickly, elegantly. Her fingers danced over the panel. Small lights glowed as her interface connected. Alien symbols appeared, then faded. The system buzzed, then clicked. Suddenly, the screen lit green. Oxygen flow. Stabilized. Jace couldn't believe it. The scrubber had restarted. The levels stopped dropping. They had time now, maybe even a full day or more. He let out a shaky breath and leaned against the wall. "You're amazing." Tala didn't respond. She looked tired, her eyes slightly duller than before. Using her energy must have taken something from her. "You okay?" he asked. "Not used to using power without rest," she said softly. "I'll be fine." He nodded. "We'll take shifts. You rest first." She looked at him for a long time. Then she sat back down and closed her eyes. Hours passed. Jace sat near the medbay door, eating a half-crushed food bar and staring into space. His thoughts spun in a loop. What had really happened to this ship? If it was just an accident, why did Tala say no one would come? He accessed the logs again. Most of them were corrupted, except one, encrypted alien message, received 2 minutes before the explosion. He played it. A strange voice echoed from the speakers, fast, sharp, with clicks and tones Jace didn't understand. Tala suddenly stood up, her eyes wide. "Turn it off." Jace paused the playback. "You understand that, don't you?" She hesitated. It was a warning, not for you, for me. Who sent it? She didn't answer. Taylor. My own people, she said quietly. They knew this ship was going to be targeted. They didn't tell anyone. They let it happen. Jace felt cold. Why? She met his gaze. Because I refused to marry the warlord's son. Silence. Jace whispered. They tried to kill you. Over a political wedding? She nodded once. You were just in the wrong place. His fists clenched. They weren't just stranded. They were left to die. A shared past. The truth hung heavy in the air. Tala's people had left her to die. Jace wasn't even part of their plans, just a name on a passenger list, caught in a political trap. The ship hadn't broken by accident. It had been sabotaged, and, now floating in deep space with only a few systems still alive, Jace was alone with someone who'd been marked for death by her own kind. Yet somehow he didn't feel angry at her, just confused, tired, and strangely, protective. He watched her sit again near the wall, her face quiet, calm but tired. The glow in her veins had faded to a softer light. Her shoulders slumped, as if the truth had drained her strength. Jace sat beside her. So, he said softly, who are you really? She didn't answer right away. Then she spoke, her voice slow and low. My name is Talarine of the Third Dusk House of Solara. It means, born under silence. She gave a faint, bitter smile. Funny, isn't it? He nodded, unsure what to say. I was born during war, she continued. Our people were rebuilding. The new leaders wanted peace, but the old ones, they wanted blood. I was chosen as a symbol of unity. A daughter offered as a gift, a bride, for the warlord's family. Her eyes darkened. I said no. Jace looked at her. And they couldn't handle that. She shook her head. They never liked rebellion, especially from someone like me. Someone like you? My father was a healer. My mother, human. Jace blinked. You're half human? Not fully, but enough that they called me tainted. My mother died when I was little. My father never forgave their court for rejecting her. I think they tolerated me because I was useful, until I stopped being useful. Jace sat in silence. It explained her features, her slight difference. From other Xalari, more expressive eyes, more warmth in her face and her silence. It wasn't just about fear, it was survival. So what now? He asked. They left you. We're alone. Are they going to come back to finish the job? Tala didn't answer at first. Then she stood and walked to the medbay window looking, out at the stars. They won't need to. Someone else will. Later, Jace checked the nav console again. It was weak, barely functioning, but the sensors picked up something new. A faint distortion signal coming closer. Could be a rescue ship, he said. Tala moved quickly to his side. Show me. He pointed to the signal. Not strong, but it's heading our way. Her fingers flew across the panel, her eyes narrowed. No, this is not a standard beacon. It's masked. So it's a trap? No, she said quietly. It's a bounty ship. Jace stared. Bounty? For you? For anyone found with me? He cursed under his breath. How much time? An hour, maybe less. He stood, heart racing. We need to hide. Weapons? Escape pods? She shook her head. They'll scan the whole ship. Unless we mask our life signs, they'll find us, and if we run, they'll shoot us out of the sky. Then what? He demanded. Tala looked at him carefully. We need to disappear, at least for a while. In the engineering bay, Tala opened a storage panel and pulled out an alien device shaped like a thin disk. This can create a micro-cloaking field, she explained. It will hide heat, breath, heartbeat. But it only lasts 20 minutes. If they search fast, it may be enough. Where do we hide? Jace asked. She looked at him. The waste chute. Jace's face twisted. You want to hide in a garbage shaft? It's sealed. Narrow. No sensors reach it. And it's the last place anyone would look, he groaned. Great, but they went. Together they crawled through the dark maintenance hatch. The walls were cold, sticky. The smell, awful. Jace gagged once, but Tala didn't flinch. You've done this before, haven't you? He whispered. More than once. When they reached the shaft, Tala activated the cloaking disc. It shimmered faintly, then became invisible. Her skin dimmed and even the glow in her veins faded. Jace could barely feel her beside him. The two sat silently, pressed against the cold walls. Moments later, the ship trembled. They had boarded. Jace held his breath. He heard boots, alien footsteps, slow, heavy. A voice crackled through the hallway above. It wasn't English or Zalari, deep, harsh. A bounty hunter's voice. They were searching. A tool scraped the deck. A scanner buzzed. Jace could feel his heart pounding. Each beat felt like thunder in his chest. He shut his eyes and focused on breathing slow. One wrong sound, and they'd die. Minutes passed. Hours, maybe. Jace couldn't tell. Finally, the sound faded. The ship trembled again, lighter this time. A release of pressure. A docking latch, undone. Then, silence. He opened his eyes. Tala looked at him. They're gone. You sure? Yes. Jace slumped. I never want to do that again. But deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. The signal that shouldn't exist. Hours passed after the bounty ship left, but the fear didn't. Jace sat in the med bay, tools scattered around him. The oxygen systems hummed quietly. Finally, stable. The emergency lights flickered overhead, painting the room in red and yellow. Beside him, Tala worked silently on her wrist device. She hadn't spoken much since they returned from the waste chute. Her face was calm, but Jace could feel the tension in her body, like a wire pulled too tight. They were alive, but they were not safe. You really think they'll come back? He asked. Tala didn't look up. Not them, others. Jace rubbed his eyes. Great. And how many people are after you exactly? She paused. Depends how many think I'm still alive. So, everyone. She gave the smallest nod. Jace leaned back against the cold wall. This was supposed to be a simple run. I was going to deliver crates, grab a meal, maybe sleep for 10 hours straight. Now I'm hiding with a half-alien girl in a ghost ship, hunted by bounty killers. Tala looked up. You can still leave. He turned to her. And what? Float in a suit, until someone picks me up? No thanks. He saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear, not relief. Something quieter. Maybe guilt. Later that cycle, the ship's weak sensors picked something up. A new signal. Jace sat up straight. Incoming transmission. He rushed to the console, tapping through the system's corrupted menu. Is it a rescue? He asked. Tala stood beside him, scanning the screen. Her eyes narrowed. No, it's not on any human frequency. Then who? I don't know, she said softly. But this code doesn't belong in this sector. It's forbidden. Forbidden? She nodded slowly. This signal is older than both our worlds. A deep code relay. It shouldn't exist anymore. The signal was repeating every few seconds. Low, sharp tones and distorted static. It sounded broken, like something ancient trying to speak again. Jace hesitated. Should we answer it? Tala stared at the screen. It already knows we're here. They followed the signal. Not physically, but through data. Jace rerouted what little power they had to communications, trying to trace its origin. What they found wasn't a ship. It was a derelict station floating behind a dark moon, just a few hours away at drift speed. It had no power, no name, no ID tags. Wasn't on any chart, Jace said. Because it was erased, Tala replied. Who erases a space station? Someone with the power to make people forget. Against all reason, they voted to go. Staying on the broken transport was suicide. Oxygen was better now, but fuel was nearly gone. If they waited, More bounty hunters would come, or worse, her own people might send someone to finish the story. So they rigged the emergency thrusters and programmed a slow drift toward the station. It would take 5 hours. Inside, the tension grew with every passing minute. Tala rested in silence. Jace sat beside her. Finally, he asked the question that had been in his mind since day one. "Why didn't you say anything when we first met?" She didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, "Because the last time I spoke to someone, he died." Jace looked at her, unsure what to say. "He tried to protect me," she continued. "A guard, a good man. I warned him not to trust my family's honor. He believed me. He tried to help. They punished him for that. What happened?" His shuttle exploded before it reached orbit. The silence between them grew heavy again. But Jace didn't pull away. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Well," he said, "I'm not dead yet." When the station finally appeared, it looked like a grave. Metal arms floated in space, broken and twisted. The main ring spun slowly like it was asleep. Large plates were missing, as if torn off by claws. Deep scorch marks stretched across the hull, yet the signal was coming from inside. "You sure this isn't a trap?" Jace asked. Taylor's voice was calm. "Everything has been a trap so far." They docked at the one working airlock. The door hissed open slowly, groaning like something old and angry. Inside it was dark, not pitch black but full of blinking machines, faint glows, and strange sounds. Like the station was dreaming. As they moved through the narrow corridor, their footsteps echoed. Nothing else moved. Jace checked the scanner. "Only us," he whispered. "No," Taylor said. "Not just us." He turned to her, confused. Her eyes were glowing again, brighter than before. "This place," she said, "was built by my ancestors." "Your what?" "Before the Zalari, before humans, before the war. They used this place to store memories, secrets, messages." "So it's a library?" "No," she said darkly. "It's a warning." At the heart of the station they found the source of the signal. A large orb floated above a cracked platform. It pulsed slowly like a heart. Black cables stretched into the walls, humming with old energy. Tala stepped forward. The orb shimmered. Voices whispered. And then, a human voice. "If you are hearing this, it's already too late." Jace froze. "What?" The voice continued. Broken, weak, but clear. The weapon wasn't destroyed. It was hidden. And now, it wants to wake. Tala turned to him. "They didn't just want me dead," she whispered. "They wanted to keep this buried." And then, the station shook. Something had just docked. Close quarters, the station trembled again. This time it wasn't memory or old metal groaning. Something had arrived. Jace's scanner buzzed wildly. Unreadable data poured across the screen. It wasn't a normal ship. The energy signature felt wrong. Pulsing. Twisting. He looked at Taylor. Her face had gone pale. Even her glowing lines seemed dimmer. "What is it?" he asked. She shook her head. "I don't know. It's not from my people. Could it be another bounty team?" She slowly turned toward the docking tunnel. "No, this feels older." They ran. Jace grabbed a portable power cell from the wall and stuffed a few tools into his bag. Tyla pulled the orb, the message core, from its cradle. It shrank into a compact shape, and she hid it in her coat. "We can't let them. Find this," she whispered. They moved fast, slipping through the broken corridors. The station groaned again, metal plates shifting. Lights flickered. Far away, they heard footsteps, heavy, metallic, too many. Jace's breath quickened. "This place is a tomb," he muttered, "and we just woke up the ghosts." They reached an old service tunnel. Narrow, tight, barely wide enough to crawl through. "This leads to the inner reactor room," Tala said. "It's shielded. They won't detect us right away. And after they do, then we fight." Jace swallowed hard. "Great. They crawled through the tunnel. Cold metal scraped against their clothes. Darkness wrapped around them, broken only by the soft light of Tala's skin. Suddenly, the tunnel split. Left or right? Jace asked. Tala closed her eyes. Left. The right is flooded. How do you know? I remember. From when? She didn't answer. Inside the small reactor room, Jace collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Tala stood near the console, her eyes scanning old Zalari symbols. We can boost the station's core just once, she said. Use the power to send a warning to your people. And what about escape? We'll use the core's energy spike to cloak our signal, maybe slip away while they're distracted. Maybe, Jace repeated. They looked at each other. For a moment. Silence. Then Jace spoke. So, back there, the message. What did it mean? The weapon wants to wake? Tala sat down across from him. Her face looked older suddenly. Tired. Long ago, before humans even touched the stars, a war broke out between the starborn, the first races. They built a weapon that could think, choose, evolve. It was too dangerous. So they buried it, and erased every trace. This station, one of the last places that held its story. And now, Jace said slowly, someone wants to find it again. Yes. He shook his head. Why? Because power always whispers to the desperate. The lights flickered again. The scanner beeped softly. They were close. Too close. Jace looked around the reactor room. There was barely enough space for one person to stand fully upright. The air felt warmer now. More cramped. He and Tala sat so, close their knees touched. You scared? He asked. She gave a tired smile. I've lived through worse, but I'm tired of running. He nodded. Me too. He looked at her, really looked. The glow of her skin, the quiet strength in her eyes, how she never begged, never broke, even with death just a few steps behind them. I don't know what happens next, Jace said. Tala looked into his eyes. You live. That's what humans do. He smiled. You've been watching us? Studying. Always from far. You surprise me. How so? She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cool but steady. You stay. Even when you could run. He chuckled softly. Funny. I was thinking the same about you. Suddenly, boom. The door to the corridor outside shook. A deep voice echoed, garbled, monstrous. Not a language either of them knew. Tala stood quickly. They found us. Jace pulled out a broken panel and found two rusted tools. One looked like a plasma cutter, the other a bolt rifle with one glowing charge left. You take the smarter weapon, he said, tossing her the cutter. I'll take the loud one. She caught it. Ready? Not even close. The door burst open. A tall shape entered. Twisted armor, strange red lights for eyes, skin like black steel. Behind it, two more moved like machines, but they breathed like beasts. The intruder stepped forward. Hand over the code, it said in a low, slow voice. Jace stepped in front of Tala. No thanks. You are irrelevant. So I've been told, Jace muttered. The figure raised a weapon, long, humming, ancient. Tala shouted, Now! She threw the cloaking core on the floor. It burst in light. Jace fired the bolt rifle. Chaos. Exploded. The first intruder dropped, armor cracked. The second rushed Jace. He rolled aside, barely dodging a blade. Tala leapt forward, slashing with the cutter. Her movements were fast, like lightning with purpose. They fought in the tight room, shoulder to shoulder. No space for fear, only survival. The last attacker lunged at Tala, and Jace threw himself between them. A blade tore through his shoulder. He screamed. Tala struck back, slicing deep into the attacker's throat. The room fell still. Jace gasped, falling to the ground. Blood. Heat. Pain. No, no, no. Taylor was beside him in seconds. Her hands glowed as she pressed on the wound. "You idiot," she whispered. "Why would you do that?" "Because," Jace groaned. "You're not just some mission, you're you." As he faded into unconsciousness, he felt her forehead rest against his and her voice soft and shaking. "If you die now, Jace, then I'll burn the stars to bring you back." They boarded the ship. Jace woke in darkness. Not death, not peace. Just pain and the steady, soft sound of breathing beside him. His eyes opened slowly. The ceiling above him was curved metal. A soft blue glow pulsed along the walls. Somewhere nearby, water dripped rhythmically like a clock counting down. He tried to move. Pain shot through his shoulder like fire. He gasped, and a gentle hand touched his chest. "Don't," Tala whispered. "You're still healing." He blinked, focusing on her face. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes, dirt on her skin, her once glowing veins now faint. But her eyes were sharp, alive. "What happened?" Jace croaked. "You nearly died," she said softly. "Again." He gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm getting good at that." Tala had dragged him from the reactor room after the fight. She'd sealed the doors behind them with emergency clamps, then found a medical chamber deep within the station's lower ring. The healing tech was old, not built for humans, but she had modified it with her own interface, running calculations manually, watching every reading. "You slept for 5 hours," she said. "I stayed awake." "Of course you did," Jace murmured. "You always do." She looked down. "I couldn't lose you." His chest tightened, not from injury but from something deeper, something he wasn't ready to name. They ate in silence, rations heated over an old energy coil. The food was tasteless, but warm, comforting, in a strange way. "Those things we fought," Jace said. "They weren't bounty hunters, were they?" Tala shook her head. "No, they were something else." "What were they?" "Guardians of the weapon." Jace froze. "I thought the weapon was buried, sealed." "It was," she said. "But someone is waking it. And those things, they were built to protect it from people like us. People who ask questions. People who survive what wasn't meant to be survived." Then came the noise, a deep thud, far above. A pulse through the walls. Jace looked up. "Did you hear that?" Taylor stood instantly. "They're here." "Who?" She checked the scanner. Red blips, moving fast. Docking procedures, multiple. "Entry points, they boarded the station," she whispered, "and they're not Guardians this time." "Then who?" She looked at him with eyes that burned. Zellery. The betrayal had returned. Tala's people, the ones who ordered her silence, her exile, her death, had come to finish the story themselves, and this time, they were bringing numbers. "How many?" Jace asked, standing slowly. 3 ships, 20 soldiers. "What do they want?" "The core," she said. "And me?" Jace stared. "They know you have it?" "They always knew I'd survive. They just didn't think you would." They moved fast through the station's forgotten tunnels, Jace wincing with every step, his arm wrapped in a makeshift sling. Tala walked beside him, quiet and focused, her blade now glowing with a faint pulse. The station lights began to flicker as enemy teams moved through its halls, systematically clearing sections, leaving nothing behind. "They're trained," Tala said. "Elite, not bounty dogs." "Great. So we're outnumbered, injured, and hunted. Again." "Yes," she replied. "But we're still breathing." Jace smiled. "I'll take it." At the core chamber, Tala activated the old override panel again. The orb, the warning device, began to spin faster, reacting to her presence. Jace watched as alien symbols danced in the air. "What are you doing?" "Waking up a dead system," she replied. "Why?" "Because if they want a war, I'll give them a memory of one." Across the station, lights exploded in color, holographic echoes. from the past burst to life. War scenes, chaos, the screams of the dead. The memory of the weapon's power spilled through the corridors, a ghost storm of energy and ancient fear. The Zalari forces stumbled, confused. Scanners failed, maps glitched, guns malfunctioned, and in the middle of the chaos, Jace and Tala moved like shadows. They ambushed the first squad near the research wing. Jace threw a shock grenade, one he'd built from scraps. It stunned the soldiers long enough for Tala to rush in, blade glowing. They didn't stand a chance. The second squad fell into one of Jace's traps. He rerouted an old gravity coil to slam them into the ceiling. By the time the third squad arrived, at the core, Jace and Tala were already waiting. "You shouldn't have come," Tala said. The squad leader aimed his weapon. "Your death is written, Talarain. Then let me write a new story." They fought fast and brutal. Jace moved through the smoke, striking from behind, covering Tala's flank. Her movements were a dance of precision and fury. Her blade found every weak point. Her rage was cold, silent. When it was over, they stood among the wreckage, breathing, bleeding, alive. The core pulsed once more. "They'll send more," Jace said. "Let them," Taylor replied. "So what now?" She looked at him. "Now we stop running." The choice, the station was no longer quiet. It hummed, like a beast waking from a long sleep. Deep below the core chamber, ancient systems flickered to life, engines that hadn't burned in 1,000 years. Power surged through forgotten wires, warning lights blinked red across every panel. But it wasn't just the station that had awakened, so had the weapon. Jace and Taylor stood before the orb again. Now fully active, it floated in the air like a star contained in glass. It spun slowly, releasing soft pulses of energy. "It's speaking," Tala whispered. Jace stepped closer. "Can you understand it?" "Not all of it," she said, "but it remembers us. Remembers me. Because of my bloodline." "Is it alive?" "Not in the way we are. It thinks in echoes, in decisions, in commands." "Can we destroy it?" Tala shook her head. "Not now, not anymore. It's already begun." The orb pulsed brighter. The room vibrated. Jace stumbled slightly. Tala stared at it. "It's giving me a choice," she said. Jace turned. "What choice?" The orb sent out images, flashes of future timelines. In one, the galaxy burned. Machines consumed stars. The old weapon took back its power and controlled every mind that touched space. In another, peace, but under control. One single voice guiding trillions, watching every world, judging every action. And in the third, nothing. Silence. A reset. Taylor's voice broke. "It wants me to choose. Control, destruction, or erasure." Jace's voice was quiet. "What happens if you don't decide? Then it will decide for us." Alarm screamed. Outside, another ship docked. Jace checked the screen. This one bigger, faster, military-grade. Tala's family had sent a war cruiser. "They won't let you leave," Jace said. "They never meant to," she replied. "Then we run." She shook her head. "No, we end it." They rushed to the core's command center. Jace worked quickly, rewiring the old human auxiliary interface while Tala linked her neural strand into the station's central node. The orb hovered between them, waiting. "Ready?" "There has to be another way," Jace said. Taylor looked at him. "There isn't." He stepped forward. "So what? You give up your life so the galaxy can forget again? You become part of this thing?" "If I don't," she said softly, "then it wakes on its own, and we lose everything." Jace grabbed her hand. "Then we both do it." She froze. "No, you're still human. The weapon won't accept you." "Maybe not," he said. "But it didn't see us coming. Not together." The final activation required two things: a bloodline spark from Tala, and a heart signal from someone outside the weapon's design. Jace stepped into the chamber with her. The orb reacted instantly, its light growing, swirling around them both. Memories filled the room. Wars, hopes, broken promises, cries of love and loss. Then it asked, "Do you choose silence, control, or fire?" Tala looked into Jace's eyes. He gave her the smallest smile. "Your call." Her voice was steady. "I choose hope." The orb shattered into light. Power rushed through the station. A wave of memory blasted outward. Cleansing systems, resetting, neural pathways across the stars. Ships stopped. Weapons turned off. Soldiers froze mid-step, and then stillness. Hours later, Jace awoke in an escape pod. He blinked, dizzy, aching, but breathing. Beside him, Tala lay still, pale, her glow almost gone. "Tala," he whispered. "Please." Her eyes opened, weak, but alive. "We survived?" she asked. He laughed, shaking. "Barely." As they drifted through space, a new signal appeared on their screen. Not military, not bounty, just a simple human beacon. "Rescue vessel. Approaching. Hold position." Jace held her hand as the stars moved slowly outside. "So, what now?" she asked softly. He looked at her. "We write a new story."